We are back.
Back and better than ever.
We are back. So welcome everyone. I am Devorah.
And I am Cedric.
This is Cedric, and we are the Co-Parent Goals. So we are hopping into this discussion today. Cedric, why don't you just say a few words? Because you ain't going to be talking that much today.
Yeah.
You just get your little...
I won't be saying anything today at all. But if anyone on here wants me to say anything, just chime in because I don't mind.
What's the code that they can give us if they really want you to say something? Like maybe an emoji, like...
maybe an exclamation point.
Okay.
So everyone put an exclamation point if they feel like they want me to chime in. But I'm gonna let Devorah just go with the flow today. I'm gonna sit down and play my role. But if there's something that's said that's not correct, I'm gonna put my foot down.
You gonna sit down?
I'm gonna put my foot down. Period.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So, if you're ready for the truth, then we shall proceed accordingly. Here you go. Okay, so basically last week we talked about the transition into co-parenting from the man's perspective, from the father's perspective. And so this week I'm going to take you guys forward with the same topic, the transition into co-parenting from the mom's perspective, from my perspective. So yeah, and I think the most important thing that I got from this whole situation, just going back, looking at, the video, just trying to, figure out, piece my responses together and what I wanted to talk about, the thing that stood out to me the most was just the fact that, me and Cedric were both tasked with given the task to, create or talk about the transition into co-parenting, but it's interesting to see where his mind went versus where my mind went initially. So I think that an important thing to take away from this entire conversation, if you will, is just that we're different. We're all different. We all have different perspectives. And especially male and female, we all have different perspectives. We're all going to approach everything differently. So that was interesting for me to have to go back and watch. And I mean, I was here, so just listening, and then also to go back and watch and listen to a lot of his perspective. It was, it was difficult because I did not agree with a lot of it. And so from there, it just makes it that much easier it didn't make it easy at all. It honestly made it difficult to kind of create what I wanted to talk about today, because I felt like a lot of Cedric's perspective was built on emotions and feelings, and when like I said, we were both given the same task, and he kind of went forward with these are the things that I felt like were kind of standing in the way. These are barriers that I feel like Devorah created in order, like, that blocked me from co-parenting with her. But when I approached it, I had a whole different list. Like, my list was more not evidence, but like more supporting facts. So things that actually happened, so actions and behavior. But he was coming more from an emotional standpoint, and I'm going to reference more when I do address the things that he talked about last week. I'm going to come more from a fact, I'm going to give you guys some factual, some supporting points, if that's okay with you. Mm-hmm. Oh, but it doesn't matter if it's okay with you, because it's my turn. All right, so let's hop right into this.
Quick question.
Y'all, wait a minute. Do we have an exclamation mark?
No, we don't.
All right.
But
go ahead. I'm just joking. What you want to say?
Someone sent the request being live. Okay, so quick question. So basically, everyone tuning in. So my perspective last week was how the transition went from a co-parenting perspective, and you're going to give them your perspective, but you're going to give relevant examples to support your reasoning and what your, I guess, example. Your
I'm going to give points to address some of your concerns that you had, and hopefully, we can all and again, you guys are witnessing real live conversations. Me and Cedric have never had these conversations. We've attempted to have some of these conversations. We've yelled and blurted a lot of these things to each other, or texted, going crazy on each other, but like we've never been able to sit and have a conversation. So a lot of the things that Cedric was talking about last week was a lot of the, like, I heard them, but I could, change my mind just a little bit to okay, I understand where he was coming from. Do I agree with it? No. But do I understand where he was coming from? Absolutely. Because everyone's perspective is different, but do I agree with a lot of his perspective? No. And so that's what I'm going to do. I have my own set of perspective. I have my own perspective in regards to transitioning into co-parenting that I'm going to present to you guys today. And through that discussion, I'm going to hit a few of the points that Cedric brought up last week. So for me, I'm just going to jump right in. I think the first initial phase for me from going from the relationship to co-parenting was just survival mode. We talked a little bit, I mentioned it last week, but for me, that's what it felt like. I think we as women, we talked a little bit about this as well. We as women, we don't really have the leisure to take a moment, to take a breather, if you will, when we are going through breakups and having to transition into co-parenting, or going from, a breakup, or whether it be an actual relationship or just a marriage. Like, we don't have the leisure to say, hey, wait a minute, I don't feel like mothering yet. I'm not there. Give me a second. We don't get to do that. And so I think a lot of the process for me, it looked like I was processing while I was in the process. And I think Cedric took the opportunity he was more able to process on his own. Like, let me go over here, let me figure this out, let me get my mind together, let me get my funds together, let me get my mind right, and then I can be a father, and then I can be active. But for me, I didn't have the leisure to say, you know what, I can't do this right now, Christian, I'll be back when I get myself together. When I get these checks, I'll be right back. I didn't get to do that. And so I think the bigger picture from this whole point is that, I was processing a lot of things. I was processing, and we as women, we do that, and I'm not to say that men aren't processing things as well, but, everyone has their approach or how they want to cope and deal or whatever, but in that moment, I had to process, I had to deal with the fact that my relationship was over. How do I cope with being done? How do I cope with a failed relationship? Coping with the fact that, I'm going to be a single mother now. I'm responsible for raising this kid. I'm responsible for putting food in his mouth. I'm responsible for making sure he has somewhere to sleep. I'm responsible for making sure he gets back and forth to daycare, paying for his daycare so he has somewhere to go so I can work, so I can take care of him. I had to take care of myself in order to take care of my son. So bring it on, reeling it back into Cedric's point last week, which was basically, he didn't feel like he had a lot to say in regards to a lot of things that were happening. But to be honest, I wasn't thinking about Cedric. I was thinking about my child. And so I just didn't have the time to to say, hey, Cedric, I know that, we're going through this hard time, but what's more convenient for you? I wasn't thinking about that because I was in real life. I was in the midst of something I was doing. I felt like I was doing it by myself. I felt like I was in something by myself that I had to pull myself out of. And maybe his support was there, but I didn't feel it. And so, a lot of, again, like he said, him feeling like he wasn't a part of it or whatever, I'm just explaining myself. I feel like a lot of it was just the fact that I'm dealing with a whole bunch. I just needed a moment. And to me, my moment was, give me a second, let me make sure my son is good. When I get everything rolling, then we can try to figure it out if you're on the same page. But honestly, I think that I kind of moved into a mindset of co-parenting and didn't even realize I was doing that in the sense that I was putting my child first, because that's co-parenting, right? So I felt like I was making decisions that were benefiting my son. I was making decisions. And again, Cedric, referred to it like, it was D's way or the highway or whatever. But at the same time, anyone that was in alignment with taking care of my son, they were allowed to be in that. I allowed them in, just like my family, my friends. I allowed everyone to be a part who was thinking about my son, who was helping me with my son, support my son. Anybody who was on in the same mindset as me, they were allowed to be a part of that. Why wouldn't I? I need the help. So I just think that he wasn't necessarily on the same track in regards to like, well, maybe Devorah is actually making these decisions for our son. Or maybe she doesn't feel, maybe I'm not giving her the support that she needs, so she feels like she has to do it by herself. But yeah, I just, you know, that's my whole point. And I think that that was just pretty much a huge gist of it. Like, I just didn't feel like I had a lot of that support from him, so I felt like I had to do things, you know, at all costs. Like, I'm here, I gotta take care of my kid. Like, that's it at this point. And so yeah, like, and I think I talked about like just feeling like I had to do it alone, and again, going back to Cedric feeling like I had to make it was my way or the highway, or he was kissing, you know, having to kiss my butt to be a part or whatever. I don't have any explanation. Like, I don't have any explanation in that regard. It's just a simple, like, I was choosing my child, and I feel like we could have gotten to the whole part of co-parenting quicker and more efficiently if everybody was on that same page and not thinking about like them. Because I wasn't thinking about myself. Because if I would have been thinking about myself, to be honest, I probably would have stepped away from that, like, off rip. Because when I already mentioned to you guys before, when I leave a relationship, I'm done. I don't communicate with people from my past. I don't talk to them. So the only thing that was connecting us was the fact that we had a kid. If I wanted to literally do it my way, I would have just been like, burp, burp, we good. I didn't do that though. So yeah, because obviously, you know, it takes two people to raise a kid, and I'm not saying that, you know, parents should do that. I feel like you should work it out, and that's what I feel like I tried to do. But also, I will say that in the midst of the transition, I mean, in regards to our breakup, we didn't have any real communication. We didn't have any real contact with each other. We had no to minimal communication. If we did communication, it wasn't effective. It was in the form of arguments, yelling, just not being able to kind of get on the same page. So I agree with that part when he talked about that. But I will say that, just to give you guys like a more understanding of where we were coming from, when me and Cedric, so there are two, we talked about this a few episodes ago too, but I want to bring this up because I feel like it's probably gotten confusing if you're following our story. When Christian was born, we were not together. So technically when Christian was born, we were co-parenting. But we got back together, and then in 2015 we began to co-parent. Once we had to co-parent because we broke up. So there were actually two co-parenting opportunities that we experienced, and I think that some of the things that you were talking about last week was in reference to maybe like the first part of our co-parenting experience, which we didn't even know anything about co-parenting. I didn't even know that was a term. So nobody was thinking about that, but that's what it was. So I'll try to go back and clarify the things that I can. But I will say that, so let me just say this. The first time that we broke up, the co-parenting was pretty much like it was very short-lived, because when Christian came, when he arrived, we weren't together. And so it was just a matter of us trying to figure out how, you know, what this was going to look like. But we never got to that point because Cedric, you know, came and he was like, well, I kind of want to make my family work, and we just kind of threw that out the window. So that was not really a thing. The co-parenting was kind of happening while I was pregnant. So like trying to figure out that situation. And then, but there were a lot of things associated with that. If it comes up and it makes sense to bring it up, I'll bring it up. And then the latter part, our breakup in 2015, the co-parenting from our, like, so let me just say, we had a court order for me and Cedric to not have contact upon our breakup. So from there, we had a court, okay, so yeah, we had people in place telling us, like, you cannot have contact with each other.
Oh yeah.
So from there, really, and it was a file, something that was, a file was claimed, or claim was filed. And so technically, even though that was in place, I still allowed, let me not say allowed, Christian, well, Cedric was still able to see Christian. Let me just say that. I wasn't a part of it, but we, would include like our family or our friends. And really, it wasn't our family, it was your friend, Tony. He was basically the person, the meetup person. Like, I would drop Christian off to him, and he would pick Christian up and give him to Cedric. And so from there, so last week when Cedric said that I was pinning Christian against him, or I was not allowing him to be a part. If you have a court order in place to say you you guys should not have contact, and I still have contact with you so you can see your son, I think it's pretty safe to say that I was like definitely in support of you and Christian having a relationship. Okay, so moving on, that's it. Hey, and so piggybacking off my own point of support, I'll say that I felt like I did not have, like I couldn't ask Cedric for help. It didn't feel like it was a welcoming place. In the beginning, like I talked, more drinks for you? Okay. In the beginning, when I talked about the two part, so when Christian was first born, I feel like it was kind of, and I don't want to talk too much about that point because we kind of got over that, but I have to, only because like it was referenced last week, but it was never a point that I didn't want Christian to be a part of Cedric's life. But it was difficult because I did not feel like I had the support from Cedric that he needed, that my son needed, and not even just me, because essentially like you're not supporting me, you're supporting your son. And so I think that was difficult, feeling like you can't ask someone for help, or being made to feel like that these are decisions that you made, you're making everything, so you do it yourself, you take care of it. And so it was difficult, like, and I'm one, I don't like to ask for help either, so it's like you kind of reinforcing my own behaviors, because I already don't like to ask people for help. But if I feel like I'm in a situation where I can't ask someone for help, I'm probably not going to ask for help. I'll just figure it out, because that's what moms do, that's what women do. So yeah, and back to Cedric's point from last week, that's where my family came in. My family was a huge support for me and Christian, and even Cedric to this day. So it was difficult for me to sit here and listen to him say that my family, and maybe he would, and again, there are two separate co-parenting opportunities that we had here, and so maybe he was referring to the first instance of co-parenting. And in that moment, I understand, like, there were moments, we went through a lot, and so you are going to feel the pressure of, like, I don't know if her family supports me or whatever, but at the end of the day, my family was not here for me, and they weren't here for Cedric. They were here for Christian. Like, that's it. And that's a form of co-parenting. Realize it or not, like, that's a part of co-parenting. And so that's where my family stepped in. So, I know it's difficult for a person to not be able to, like, be full in, or feel like someone's taking their spot or not being allowed, but no, there was no barrier in between Cedric and Christian, period. Not from my family, not from me. Like, it was, that wasn't a thing. So I'll also say that I think within my own ego, like, I think I struggled to allow, like, even when I should have been requiring Cedric, or asking, or, making him do, not making him, but, requesting that he add certain assistance to whatever we had going on for Christian, I think that it was almost like a form of enablement that I created for the lack of support. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, shoot, if you don't want to help, then you don't have to help. We good over here. And I mean, I wasn't good. I wasn't okay. I just did what I had to do. And I didn't want the person who, like, it just almost felt like, you know, like you were like looking or waiting for me to fail. And it's like, but if I fail, our son fails. So I didn't, that's just how I felt. But again, I feel like I might have even enabled the lack of support, because it was just like, I don't want him, I didn't want Cedric to feel like I needed him, because I felt like he didn't want to help. I don't want to push someone to do anything that they don't want to do. So that's a lot of where I was coming from in that regard. And then I will address the business transaction. So last week, Cedric he said that, you know, it bothered him, and that I made him feel like the relationship basically turned into a business transaction because I would be asking him for money. But if you think about it, one, I wasn't requesting any, like, for the first year to 2 years, a year and a half, I was not requesting any financial assistance from Cedric. I left the situation with, you have my bank account information, do with it what you want, and that was it. I never asked him for anything until we both agreed on an amount, and then it would be like, okay, well, you know, hey, when am I gonna, you know, get this or whatever. But at the same time, you know, I understand how, from his perspective, you know, how it can make a person feel like, dang, like you just want money from me. You know what I'm saying? Because again, he wasn't seeing Christian that often. But then the only communication we had was literally about when you're gonna see him and what are you providing for him. That's it. But that's co-parenting. And I think, like I said initially, I might have slipped into co-parenting subconsciously before he did. And so for him, it probably made him feel like, who are you? Like, why are you just asking me? But it's like, at the end of the day, our only job and only reason why we're even communicating is to take care of our son. And like, finances is going to be one of those ways. And then you being physically present in his life is going to be the other. Aside from that, like, it's really nothing to talk about. So I understand how that can make him feel like it is a business transaction. You agree with that?
It was my drink. This drink. I'm being quiet.
But yeah, hold on, let me take a sip because I'm getting thirsty.
Yeah, please do. Oh, I can't wait till next Thursday.
So you think we're gonna talk about this again next week?
Oh, we have to. I got a rebuttal. Yeah, I got a rebuttal.
Okay. So he's clearly in an emotional state, as we can see.
Emotional? Who emotional? You got the wrong one. It may be a topic for next week. I don't know.
What?
But I think I deserve a rebuttal. You know?
But this is okay. So we'll get there, because at the end of the day,
we'll figure it out.
It's really not about a rebuttal.
I know, but
you know, because the thing is, what did you tell me?
What?
We don't have to see eye to eye, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And I agree with that.
But I think that people should hear both perspectives.
Your perspective was last week.
But I ran out of time. I had 57 minutes.
You didn't run out of time.
I needed 3 more minutes.
You did not run out of time, sir.
I didn't run out of time. Continue.
But yeah, so, you know, and I will say, since we're talking about money, I'm gonna bring up, you know, the fact that, well, did y'all hear his teeth grind, or whatever you call it? Yuck. So last week you brought up child support, and you brought up, you know, you basically equated child support, like, if a person, basically child support is for deadbeat dads. That's what you said.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So I definitely feel like child support is helpful when you have a father who is not contributing. I do. But I also feel like I'm not pro child support. I'm through the system. Let me just be clear. I'm pro supporting your child, but I'm not pro like going through this court system to get child support if you don't have to. So, but let's be honest. Were you providing financially consistently for like at the beginning before like we got into the groove of our co-parenting, thing?
That's a loaded question because you said, was I contributing?
Contributing financially.
The answer was yes, and then it was when I could. So the consistency part was money wasn't coming in consistently. Because honestly, if I wasn't staying with y'all, I mean, I don't really know what I would have been doing, but money wasn't coming in consistently. Say I got $1,000, little do you know, more than half of that would go towards y'all, and the other stuff would have to go to stuff that I had to, car insurance, student loans, stuff like that. So was I contributing? Yes. Consistently, I guess within reason when I received it. But if you're saying consistently the 1st, 15th, every single month, obviously not, because money wasn't coming in like that.
Okay, and that's the thing about, like, it's nothing, I don't think there's anything wrong, because we are flexible. Now we're to the point where it's like, oh, like, if you don't pay me or whatever, like, get it to me whenever you can. But, like, this is the thing. I think, and I know that you didn't intend it this way, but when you're a single mother and you are depending on your child's father to provide financially, you are, let me not speak for other women, other mothers, let me speak for me. When I didn't receive help from you, it made me feel like you didn't care about your son. Go ahead.
I know this is your show, but let me just say something. If you remember, you said earlier that you acted as if you didn't need me.
No. I said I felt like you did not want to help me. And I did not want to I didn't want you to think that I needed you. But that has nothing to do with you doing your due diligence and you taking being responsible for what you're responsible for, regardless of whether I asked, whether I put you on something where I was like, hey, like hitting you up 50 times, or if I hit you up one time or no times, you still know that you gotta provide for your son.
It's not always financially, it's
not.
So, but what I was saying was, you said earlier that you acted as if you had everything under control, but you really needed my help. So when I had it, I gave it to you. If you never came to me and specifically asked for it, I didn't see a need to go out and go above and beyond and make it happen. When it came, and I gave it to you. So my interpretation of you needing help was you were good, but I still had obligations to still contribute when I had it.
But we weren't even communicating like that. So I think you're thinking a little bit further ahead, because even to the point of like, if I got it, then you got it. That wasn't even a thing. You weren't acting like you cared whether I had it, whether your son had it. Like, nobody was asking me what Christian ate today. Nobody was even asking me, hey, so is the rent paid? Like, y'all good? Y'all got lights? Y'all got power? It was you take care of it. You got it. Right or wrong? Wrong,
but it's okay. I mean, we could disagree to agree. But, like, you didn't know my financial situation then.
But it's not about, that's...
Like, where do you get money from if you don't have money unless you go out and sell drugs or rob somebody? Which I wasn't going to do because...
But that's a simple communication, Cedric. You can't... If we are not communicating, it's difficult. If I feel like you're not helping me, you're not contributing, you're not doing anything to help me with our son, and you be like, I'll get it to you when I can get it to you. What?
I said that?
I'm just saying, essentially, translation, it's just like, if you're not giving me no money, and you like, I don't got it, but I'll get it to you. You weren't saying like, hey, like this has been going on. When we lived together, when we was in a relationship, I never even knew where your money was going. Did I or did I not?
No.
I didn't know where your money was going.
I didn't know where it was going.
So there's also some trust. Like it's a rapport. We have a rapport. You built a rapport with me to say, I am... Like, I do with my money, what I want to do with it. So if you weren't giving to me, in my head, and from my perspective, because my perspective is my perspective, it's like, so he might got it, but he ain't gonna give it to me. Or he just don't care. He's gonna spend his money on what he wanna spend it on. Because you be fly now, cause you be, you know, you was out, you was kicking it. Your girl was cute when you had one, so it's like, well, how they cute and they doing all this and
those were all old clothes.
Okay.
All those clothes were old.
I'm joking anyway, because that was the first part of co-parenting. I don't really care about what you...
Oh, yeah, you care because you brought it up, but go ahead and continue.
Whatever.
Go ahead and continue.
No, I'm trying to build points at this point, you know.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So, exactly, red carpet faces. She
what
said...
red carpet faces say?
She said, moms don't get to say that, unfortunately. Because it's like, I was talking to my girlfriend last night, and... She's married.
Y'all done got me scooting closer because
look, she's married. Listen, she's married, right? And she said to her husband, what distractions. Y'all see how they be trying to...
It was too strong. It was too strong.
Okay, but look, she was like, if you don't, whatever you don't do, husband, I have to do.
But that's...
It's my turn.
Next Thursday.
Whatever you don't do, whatever you fathers don't do, we have to do, even if we can't. So you're telling me basically I didn't have no money or I couldn't do this because I didn't have no funds coming in. Cedric, what if I did not have funds coming in to pay rent, to take care of our son, to put him in daycare, to drive him? Like,
that's when I would have stepped in.
No,
and
but
went and do
you
what I had to do in the streets.
No, that's not fair.
That is very fair.
That is not fair. So it's like, I got you. When you get to zero, let me know.
No, it's not that. But at the end of the day, it's like I shouldn't have to go out and compromise my freedom to make sure that we're good.
Say that again?
Okay, so you want me to go out and sell drugs and rob people to get money? Like, think about it. As being an entrepreneur, things take time. So you have to hold down the fort. Like, at the end of the day now, it'd be different if we met and you weren't working and having your own place and all that. Then I would automatically know what load I would need to actually have on my shoulders. But to be honest, if I think about it, the rent really wasn't that much.
It wasn't.
And I told you,
that's not the point.
But what did I say when I took out the black phones? Work with me, you gonna be all right.
That is not even the point.
That's the point. You right now.
Way to be typical of Cedric, to crack a joke in the...
It was too much pressure on my head. Too much pressure.
But my whole point is that was my very first point. Mothers do not have the leisure to say, I can't do it. We don't get to do that.
I mean, you're right. You have some good valid points, but you're not 100% right. But you're right.
I'm just speaking facts. Cause I'm speaking factuals. Cause you was giving a whole bunch of opinions. These ain't opinions. These facts.
No, I gave some facts.
Okay.
I gave some facts. I don't want to distract you. It's your platform for now. But next Thursday, it's on. It's on like Donkey Kong.
That's facts. I'm looking at these comments because they coming through, honey. Okay, so let me just go here.
Cedric, that's not right. It appears that you didn't even ask, and the ask is in capital letters. It's like you didn't even apply yourself financially.
Ooh, they coming in.
They coming for, but
come on.
But I'm ready though. I'm ready. I'm ready. What's up? Keep them coming. Keep them coming. We're gonna answer those in the last 5 minutes of the show.
Okay, and so back to my whole point, we was talking about child support and him equating child support to being a deadbeat father. And I was saying that sometimes it is not just the fact that, you know, the father is not doing what he needs to do. Sometimes you need a third party to create some structure for the two parties. So I don't agree with people going into the system if you don't have to. But I do feel like, you know, you're distracting me.
I'm sorry. Somebody just said he stayed fresh, though. It was old clothes. That doesn't matter.
But, okay. So, right, he stayed fresh. Boy, he had all the... Where Kaylee at? Because she be knowing all the little name brand stuff that he be having on. Because I don't pay attention to stuff like that. Girl, he be having... I wish I knew the names of y'all. I could just tell y'all. Let me just...
Adidas, Nike.
Boy, if you don't stop lying.
Oshkosh.
If you don't stop lying, I might... Okay. Just let me send one text message. I might have had a whole...
No.
Exactly.
Stay on course.
Exactly. You don't want that.
Stay on course.
Okay, so basically I was saying that I really think that in regards to child support, I definitely feel like sometimes it can be used for structure, and I don't feel like child support, like the system, going through the court system to get child support, that system is not created to help Black people. It is not created to help to move us forward. But sometimes when things are just out of your control and there is no seeing eye to eye, it is an option. And other times when, like for me, again, I don't like to communicate with people after we're done. So I didn't even go that route with Cedric, but there were a lot of times that I thought about it or I considered it because I felt like we're not getting anywhere. We're bumping heads. We can't even have a simple conversation. So at this point, I don't have help. So what other options? He can just go. Let's just go to court so then they can tell us what we need to do, and then we don't have to worry about it. You don't have to blame it on me that I'm not being fair. So let them do it.
The courts are biased.
I understand that, but when you're dealing with a person who's not being level-headed, it's difficult as well.
So what's your example of not being level-headed? Like, what was your example?
Not putting your child first.
Did you ever ask me for something for him that I never gave?
I never asked you. I never asked you for anything. Like, we would create things and we would figure it out from there. Like, we would create, like, you basically would let me know, like, okay, I can do this or whatever. I think it was like maybe Christian was maybe like 3-ish. When we decided on an actual amount that you were to give me every 2 weeks. That's 3 years. Not to say that he did not contribute in the 3 years, but there was no consistent payment with, like, for the first year to the first year and a half to 2 years. Like, it wasn't.
Okay, but again, you never asked me for something for him that I never provided.
It was rare that I had to ask you, Cedric. I had a support system.
Right. So my thing is, if you don't ask, sometimes there's no action. So for me...
No, because you have to be a father regardless. That's just like when we live together.
But you're talking about from a financial perspective.
Okay, so let me give you an example because it's my perspective. If we are, just like, these are real facts. I'm not giving you no hypothetical situation. When we're living together, if we were living together, when we were living together... I don't have to tell you every single month that rent is due. I don't care if it's $200 worth of rent. I don't care if it's $50 worth of rent. I don't care if it's $1,200 worth of rent. I don't have to tell you that it's due. That's responsibility. And that's showing concern and care about, like, okay, I don't want my girl worrying about this or whatever, or I don't got it, but I'm gonna communicate with her to let her know that I don't have it. That's it's communication. It's communication and just taking accountability and being responsible.
Okay.
You don't agree with that?
I don't, because what's crazy is that when a person, like, no man, unless he just falls on money or like he's a very successful drug dealer or whatever, like he may have you, or he's got a bombing career, no man's gonna fall on money. And then we had a child unexpectedly, right? So life changes, right? You're 100% right.
Cedric.
Hold on. You're 100% right in terms of life. Like, you have to adjust and like, you don't have a break. But at the end of the day, my money came in specifically for the items that I was taking care of. You even told me at one point that I needed to find a way to make additional money, or find a way to basically be able to pay the rent and all that other stuff. If I got rid of my car, to sell my car to give you money, how would I have got to work?
When did I tell? Okay.
No, we should. But that's an example of you were telling me as if I can just all of a sudden just have extra money. When I had it, had it.
No, for me, I understand that, but it's about, to me, in my head, it's about prioritizing, because I literally I worked the same low-paying job that I worked before I had Christian and after I had Christian, and I was able to take care of him. And I had bills too. I had bills, I had responsibilities, I had all of that, Cedric, and I still did it. You chose where you wanted your money to go.
That's not true.
I'm not saying that you didn't have it, but like
you knew that I took care of my father in Nigeria.
But that is not that. Look, that is not. No. This is why we had the talk separately, because we're gonna go back and forth. This is not about like, and that's the thing. You're proving my point. You're proving my point. We don't have the leisure to say I'm taking care of my mom. I'm taking care of my dad. I cannot take care of my kid. I cannot give you money to help take care of my kid. And does that make it better?
And this is where we disagree, right?
Because Cedric, you just got, at some point you're gonna have to just be like, my bad, like I was tripping.
No, I'm not saying that I was not wrong. I was 110% wrong. But how were we 20, like early 20s? So at the end of the day,
I was 25 and you was 26, 27, because you know you got your Nigerian age. So however old.
What is it? I'm only 30 now, so I'm maybe 17, huh? No, but seriously though, so what you like right now, if I was in that position, it would be completely different, like, because my life has changed. But when you're young and coming of age,
let me ask you this.
Yeah.
When I said, all right, Cedric, I'm pregnant, I'm about to have a baby, did you not?
I said, ah! You what? Man,
you did.
What we gonna do? Yeah, that's
okay. You did. What did you not be like? Did you not in your head be like, well, let me take a few monies or whatever dollars out of my checking account or my check that I get every 2 weeks? Let me take some money out of this and let me put it aside. Even if you only had $50 by the time the baby was born, did you not do that?
Yeah.
Because had I not done that, I wouldn't have been able to take care of myself.
Man, I owe back taxes. It was a lot of stuff going on. I owe back taxes. The money that I did save. See, it's a lot of stuff that she doesn't know that transpired.
Communication, sir. Moving on.
But I don't communicate, though.
But that's not my problem.
But you ain't gonna cut me off because I ain't done yet. Put my foot down. I know it's your show and all, but I can't keep getting treated like this.
They don't like the truth. They don't like the truth.
Get out my face.
Okay, let me hurry up because I got like 7 minutes. Okay.
We gotta get to questions in 7 minutes.
So basically, I feel like ego is a big thing, ladies.
Hey, Chanel.
Hey girl, I think ego is a huge thing in regards to like the transition, like in regards to men, and it's something that you just have to be kind of understanding too, and just kind of just be aware that that's the thing with men. Like as he said, if he don't have the money, he probably didn't feel like a man to be able to be like, Devorah, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have the money. But had we developed this amount of transparency in our relationship, it would have been a no-brainer in our co-parenting relationship for him to come to me and be like, hey D, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I got you. Like, I really don't have it. Y'all just let me know if you need something immediately. I'll try to figure it out. But until this point or whatever, I just don't have it. I think that's a huge thing for men. And so moving on, I'll say that the last phase, nope, we ain't even got to the last phase, but anyways, I think the change for me personally, the change for me, I would say, I just began to control what I can control and not really worry about the things that were beyond my control. And that really helped me out a lot. Just trying to create boundaries without potential drama. That was something that I tried to do. So even down to the point of, okay, if we're having a conversation via text message or whatever, and we start arguing through text messages, I'm exiting stage left. I'm not gonna argue. It ain't bring me no money to help take care of my kid. It ain't bring me no peace so I can deal with my kid. I'm good. I'm not doing that with you. And then setting up obligations for each parent, I think was a huge part into the transition. And then also just accepting help was something that I struggled with. I mean, I struggled with asking for help. But you know, that's something that I had to get over. That was an ego part, like a struggle with my own ego that I had to get through. Like, I understand I'm Miss Independent or whatever, but at the end of the day, this is not about me, it's about Christian. And so, yeah, and I also wanted to hit on the point that you brought up about pinning Christian against you. I know you felt that way. And I think And well, you said that in regards to like why he would be upset when.
Yeah, not against me. I just feel like you could have suppressed his emotions a lot better than what you did.
Okay, one, we're not suppressing kids' emotions because that's unhealthy.
What?
We're not suppressing emotions.
You should oppress a child's emotions.
You don't oppress nobody's emotions, not even a child.
I didn't say oppress, I said suppress.
Suppress, oppress, it's oppression.
No, it's not. Suppress in terms of. Let me give you.
It's my turn. I got 4 minutes. Come on now. Let me get my shine on. All right. So he's a hater. This is why we couldn't be together, because he's a hater.
And
okay. So when Christian would get upset when it was time for him to go with his dad, I honestly feel like there was not an emotional connection built in the home when me and Cedric were together. I think like Cedric was there physically, but I feel like even in our, like that was a thing in our relationship, if you remember correctly.
I don't remember.
Okay, well let me just jog your memory. That was something that was an issue for us in our relationship. You were very detached in our relationship. Like you would be there physically, but like you would be like, this Cedric while we at dinner.
I recall you saying, "Oh, you just give him so much love, but I don't get any."
Exactly, but that's the thing. How awkward is it for me to walk into my home? I got groceries, I got bags, I'm coming off of work, open the door for Christian, and then he runs in, "Hey, buddy," da 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 da, and then you don't even acknowledge, you don't even say, "Hey, D." Your son saw that. So when there's a disconnect emotionally, it matters. These things matter. So, and I also feel like even down to the point, like you said, I think we should what'd you say, suppress? We should suppress his feelings. No, you have to allow a kid to be a kid, and he wasn't even a kid. He was a baby.
Suppress doesn't mean void.
What does it mean?
So what I'm saying in terms of suppress, there should be no reason why he's 120% irate and flustered when he comes to his father.
Cedric,
suppress should have meant, Christian, it's okay. You're going.
We did that. No, we did that. Yes, we did. You don't know what we talked about. We have a whole hour ride long to your house
on next Thursday show.
An hour long to your house. We talked about stuff like that.
Okay.
And so, even to the point where I'm like fussing at him because he's crying, and it's like, Cedric, Christian, you know you gotta go with your dad, and it's like, why am I yelling at my kid because he's upset that he has to go with you? My whole point is, what do we ultimately end up having to do? We ended up having to work on your connection and your bond with Christian. Even though he was 3, 4, 5 years old, we had to work on that, but that is what needed to be done in our home. So that when we walked away, if we walked away, and I'm saying this to help other co-parents so that your kid does not have to go through a difficult transition, you gotta be connected.
Yeah. You
gotta be connected. And again, it was very different too. Like if you think about when he was going with you versus when he was like with me, like you weren't at a set location when he would come visit you. He didn't have his own space necessarily. The parenting styles are probably a lot different, as you can see. Christian, why are you upset? Why are you crying over here on mom's side? But then it's like, what are you crying about? Da, 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 da. So I get it. Two different perspectives in regards to parenting, so that's a lot for a kid. I honestly don't think that I'm gonna be able to finish all my notes, so we'll probably have to come back to this, but let's just go ahead and, well, let me finish my last point, and then I'll just say this. The third phase, I will say, it was basically us moving forward and taking accountability for our son, both of us, not just one of us. Being consistent, like with his schedules, being consistent with our parenting styles, sticking to our obligations. So if you're supposed to pick him up, you're supposed to do something with him, follow through with that, and vice versa. But also, like, obviously the way our lives are set, we can't like literally stick to everything, but that was part of the transition, and just figuring all of that out. And honestly, I'm just gonna leave with this. We have 9 minutes left. I'm gonna say this. I just want men, not even men, I think parents in general, like we have to step up to the plate. Like everybody has to step up to the plate. Everybody has to be present. Everybody has to show up. And I will say fathers, to our black fathers. And I'm saying black. I mean, I know every person that's watching is not black, but I want to say this to our black fathers because it's so important. Y'all got to step up. Y'all got to do better. Because you need to show up like sooner. You got to show up as soon as your kid is on, as soon as you know that there's a baby in your child's mother's stomach, you got to show up. Because everything that is happening, all of like every single thing that we lined up and talked about here, it matters. So I have a whole bunch of other stuff that I want to say, but let's just take like one question. I think we have like 8 minutes.
We need to talk about what you just said, maybe another show, because I understand and respect your opinion, but there's so many other variables that go into a basket besides fathers need to show up. So
I said everyone needs to show up.
You said fathers.
I said fathers, and then I went back and said fathers.
Okay.
I said black fathers.
I was about to
boy,
I got it. Don't worry about it, bros. You know what I'm saying?
So you want that smoke?
I do want it, because at the end of the day, there needs to be a proper justification to make a statement, and that statement is completely irrelevant. We can talk about my second situation. There's like, would I not show up? Yes or no? But you know, we're not gonna get into that.
But
we're gonna get no. We're not gonna get into that. We're gonna give.
How you gonna say something and tell me?
Because we have 8 minutes left. We have to let the people actually ask their questions. But that could be something for next week.
I don't see no questions. So like I was saying,
I see plenty. So one question that I seen earlier was, what was my definition of suppressing Christians' feelings? And I don't mean completely void his feelings, but I'm saying, if a father is willing to be involved in a child's life, despite the distractions that the mother and father have, neither parent should ever talk ill-mannered of the other parent at any time. Not saying that she did, but it should always be, your father's going to do this. It's okay. I'll see you next week, X, Y, and Z. Or your mother's going to do this. Or you know what? There should never be a time where there's a comparison or there's favoritism from either parent, ever.
Cedric,
so I'm not saying that she did that, but I'm saying that I didn't see that when I was around.
You don't have to see it, because I'm parenting I parent 90s. I parent 100% of every single time my son is around.
Okay, so do you have to see me doing hustle? Like, do you have to see me hustling from the back end versus me telling you? Because I could be doing stuff, not communicating, like, okay, I'm trying to get money so we can be good. But what you just said, there's a correlation between, you don't have to see the work that's being done behind the scenes versus seeing D, this is what I'm doing right now. Let me get this money together and I'm gonna give it to you. I think a person has to see it from the front end and the back end. I may not have done the right thing from the front end versus making you pay for rent whenever I could have contributed, but I should have been like, you know what, I'm doing this. I got this in the works. Right. So you should have been like, look, say, I'm trying to do this for Christian, although he may be acting this type of way when he's.
Cedric, we had those conversations.
No, we didn't.
Yes, we did.
No, we didn't.
And yes, we did. Like,
I've lied before in the past, but I ain't lying now. I don't remember it, and we didn't.
At the end of the day, Cedric, if like knowing that my son was so upset, like regardless, it doesn't matter what you think I was saying to him. Look at my actions. I was still allowing, not say allowing, because we're not using that word here.
Questions,
hold on, because we almost done here. I was still bringing Christian to you every single time. Tears, no tears. Was I not? So that's me doing my part. So it doesn't matter. And there were extra conversations that I would have with Christian to understand why he was so upset or whatever, but it was really nothing he could communicate. He's 3, he's 4. So, and I think a bigger thing to take away from this whole situation is that, one, we can have different perspectives and still support the same kid. We don't have to see eye to eye about, and especially not about the past, because it's the past. We got to focus on the present. We got to keep it moving forward. We have to, continue to be each other's strengths in each other's weaknesses. There are some parts where you're stronger with Christian, and there are parts where I'm stronger with Christian, and the parts where you lack, I have to fill in, and vice versa. And that's co-parenting, period.
Okay.
So
get some questions.
The questions are done, Cedric. I was ending the live.
There's 4 minutes left. Don't be trying to short.
Quinn said, "Oh snap, I'm here. What I miss?"
You'll never see eye to eye all the time. Impossible. That's true. There were some questions, but I don't want to scroll back. I'll post a few questions. We've got about 3 minutes.
But yeah, so. Are
there any questions?
There are no questions.
There were some, but.
Well, then, if you're not gonna go up there.
Yeah, it's okay. Well, it was interesting. I held my tongue. Can't wait till next week, D. No questions? How do you guys handle? Oh, that's a good one. I'll answer that. How do you guys handle the other dating? I don't care as long as she doesn't allow her boyfriend to call my son his son. Or what's your opinion? Quick.
That's too broad of an answer. I don't have a quick answer for that one.
Okay. How do you guys agree to create the co-parenting goals? How did you guys agree to create?
Well, I created it originally, and
what? We gotta get contracts established because you already trying to take the cream.
Anyways, I created it originally, and then
I just jumped
Cedric joined. How old is our son now? He's 7. So when we broke up, he was 3. 2015. 4.
He was 3.
He was 3. Yeah, he was 3. He was about to be 4 in May. So yeah, it's been a journey. But anyways, like I said, it's all about co-parenting. It's all about perspective and not necessarily having to agree on each other's perspective, as you can see. But it's really about bringing it together for the sake of your kid and everybody being on the same page about what are we doing to make sure that our kid is good from here after this separation.
Like, you guys really got to continue to watch and share and like let people know, because like I promise you, if we could be sitting at the same table together, I mean, and our situation was bad, I think anybody can do it. I mean, despite me being silly and jovial and goofy, this took a lot of work, you know what I'm saying? So don't reach over me again. But I really think
he still got issues.
No, I ain't got no issues. It's just
I'm trying to get some eyes. I'm trying to get my eyes. My drink is hot.
But seriously, like, you guys have to tune in. Thank you for definitely tuning in, watching, like your comments and everything. I'm still growing as a father. She's still growing as a mother. She's been doing a great job. But I think hearing our journey and just seeing how we've came together, you guys don't want to miss the multiple sessions every Thursday at 6 p.m. EST. The Co-Parent Goals.
That's that.
That's that.
All right, we out. Get your
hating, man.
You're a hater.
All you do is hate. That's why we in the same situation.